A list of mania. Think less but see it grow.
Hello everybody, it's the Law Gnome and welcome to your March 2016 episode of 10 for 12. If you want to know what 10 for 12 is, because you're relatively new to my channel, there is a playlist provided in the box below. So I'm very excited for this episode of 10 for 12 because I am going to be collabing with another YouTuber, and this is a young lady in the YouTube film community that I am so shocked I didn't find earlier in my YouTube career. But because of the fact that I saw her do an amazing collaboration with YouTubers who I know and respect, including Cinema Darling and Rihanna Toria, I had to ask her, could you do this little thing with me, especially because she's still relatively new, and she definitely should get more subscribers. She's actually knocking on the door of 500. Her channel's name is Cine Club, but her name is Maria, and I am so glad that she is joining me for this one, because this is going to be a great topic. We all love movies, and we do tolerate sequels from time to time. But do you ever stop and think about how many decent sequels there are out there? And more importantly, have you ever stopped to try and find out which ones may in fact surpass the original film, spawning an amazing story with so many details and plot twists and unforgettable characters? Well, I'm happy to say that I did come up with 10 of them. If a movie came out and it was followed up with a prequel, that movie does not count as a sequel. So Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Monsters, Inc., I'm looking at those types of films. They do not count in this list. I'm talking about movies that came out whose sequels followed a couple years later, and did they in fact surpass the original? So let's begin. The first one that I want to talk about is a personal favorite. It's Rocky IV. I am not a fan of the original Rocky, nor am I a fan of boxing films in general. But how can you not love Rocky 3 and 4? Rocky 4 in particular is because of the fact that it took place in the 80s, at the height of the Cold War, Sylvester Stallone versus Dolph Lundgren as Ivan Drago, Russia versus the United States, with some of the cheesiest lines like "I must break you," and some of the most amazing workout montages thanks to a wonderful song called Hearts on Fire. I know a certain YouTuber in the film critics community that loves that Rocky film, and I truthfully think that even though I may not be a fan of the Rocky films, Rocky 4 is definitely a much more fun and enjoyable sequel than the original. Number 9 is a sequel that nobody talks about, and it's The Rescuers Down Under. The Rescuers is a very good film, but a lot of people consider it as just meh or possibly forgettable. But nobody talks about The Rescuers Down Under because apparently Disney decided to make it hidden between The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. But it has such a rich history in regards to making it. It was the first one to feature Disney digital animation. It has the original voice cast back in Zsa Zsa Gabor and Bob Newhart. It has such a beautiful landscape in Australia, great story, great characters, and of course the legendary George C. Scott as the villain. I've seen it recently. It really is such an amazing film, and I'm looking forward to reviewing it as well. Number 8 is another animated film. We're actually going to get a lot of animated films in this list. And it is DreamWorks' How to Train Your Dragon 2. How to Train Your Dragon was a movie I never expected to be as good as it was, but it was incredible. But oh my god, the sequel was amazing. It was so much more plot-driven. I loved the fact that they aged the characters. I loved the story, and there were some moments that I did not see coming that were just absolutely shocking, especially for an animated film. Why this didn't win Best Animated Feature in the 2015 Oscars, I will never know, but it is an amazing sequel. It skyrockets over the original, and I am so excited to see How to Train Your Dragon 3 when it finally gets released. Number 7 is X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, don't get me wrong, I love X2. X3 is, well, let's not talk about that. But what I loved so much about this X-Men film was the fact that it united the original X-Men cast from the first 3 X-Men films and the cast of the brand new X-Men storyline in X-Men First Class. At least it tried in the X-Men film universe to take from as many elements of the comic story that it could. It had an excellent role for Wolverine to play. I loved the way it looked in regards to the future, as well as going back into the 1970s, and let's just put it this way. When the ending hits, you all are very, very satisfied, especially with how it affects the entire X-Men cinematic universe. And it is because of how great this one is that I'm so excited for X-Men Apocalypse, and even more excited to see how Deadpool may fit into this universe. Number 6 is Toy Story 3. Toy Story 2 was great, especially because of the fact that nobody expected that movie to even do what it did in terms of the whole Toy Story storyline. But Toy Story 3 just wowed audiences to no end. We all know what that story is, we all know those moments, and we all know that grown men did cry in our theaters when we went to go see that movie, especially when we got to the end. But Toy Story 4, I don't know why it's happening. I personally think that this was the perfect way to end this storyline. It was the best film of 2010 for me. This movie, especially when you take a look at the first one and how far Pixar came for CGI animation in general, it's definitely one feat to behold. Number 5, well, we couldn't do a top 10 list about sequels that surpassed the original without talking about The Empire Strikes Back, Episode 5 in the Star Wars saga. It just took a story and took it to a darker place. It has one of the greatest moments in cinematic history. It just turned Star Wars into more than just a space opera. It turned it into a pop culture phenomenon, and because of that and where that story went, look at what we have right now. This world practically runs on Star Wars at this point in time, especially thanks to Episode 7. Number 4 is another one that truly should be in this list, and it's Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Comic book movies were just not taken seriously. When the X-Men films started coming out, people started to look at them in a different light. But when Christopher Nolan took on the Batman line, let's just say this: what is Batman and Robin again? This movie was not just a great comic book film, it was just a great movie. It had one of the greatest performances of Heath Ledger's career, and unfortunately we all know what happened to him and he wasn't alive to receive his Oscar, but I was blown away by the Joker in that film. Aaron Eckhart playing Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, another great character, and it was just so much more than just an average comic book movie, and it really set the bar with what superhero and comic book related films were going to be. We have seen that movie pave the way for some of the greatest films in cinema history, smashing box office records, and this year is no different because we may in fact see another couple of true winners thanks to Batman v Superman, as well as Captain America Civil War, and of course, Doctor Strange. Number 3 is Terminator 2. Terminator's a great movie, but Terminator 2 Judgment Day is so much better. The acting is better, the action sequences are better, the score is better. Everything about that movie just blows your mind. I am not an action guy. Both of those Terminator films are amazing, forget the rest of them, but Terminator 2 Judgment Day is without a doubt one of the greatest action science fiction films of all time. And if you see it, you will definitely believe it. Number 2 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is amazing, but when Captain America: The Winter Soldier came out, especially after a movie like The Avengers, I did not expect this movie to be so amazing. It wasn't just about superheroes. It talked about espionage. It talked about distrust. It talked about hidden societies. It was just something so different from all of the other Marvel films that came before it. And especially after a not-so-great film in Iron Man 3, I will still say at this point in time, even though we have gotten movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and the sequel to Avengers and Age of Ultron and Captain America Civil War is on the way with so many more great-looking Marvel films, I don't really know if any of them are going to surpass The Winter Soldier. You just have to see this one to truly see how great it is. It really is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And my number 1 film that surpasses its original is The Godfather Part 2. The Godfather is a great film, a true classic directed by Francis Ford Coppola. But the sequel, at least to me, just surpasses the original. I love the backstory of Don Corleone, portrayed beautifully by a then brand new to the Hollywood scene, Robert De Niro. Al Pacino comes out from the shadows of his father and turns on this amazing performance as Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 2. I mean, how many sequels win Best Picture along with its predecessor? None! The Return of the King may have won Best Picture, but its predecessors did not. So when a movie and its sequel do in fact get the Best Picture nod, and even The Godfather Part 3, which is nothing special compared to the other two, gets nominated for Best Picture, that says a lot about your film, your story, your characters, and more importantly, those involved to bring these movies to the big screen. So that's it, everybody. Those are my 10 sequels that truly surpassed their originals, and thank you very much to Maria from the Cine Club for joining me. I am really looking forward to seeing which sequels you chose that you believe are better than the originals. So for now, feel free to put your comments in the box below. Let's have a discussion. Of course, there will also be a link provided to Cine Club's channel and her video, and I will see you in the next one. Actions speak louder than words.